Peace, family. Are you tired of being denied life necessities such as cars, housing, and credit cards due to lack of credit history? Then if so, give Brother New a call today. Brother New will help you legally boost your credit score by adding seasoned trade lines. Brother New also does credit consultations. Make the change today. Call 504-276-2033 or visit TradelinesWithGamba.com.
Welcome to Tricknology, where we focus in on safety, training, education, and legal protection. This is Professor Griff, NRA, USCCA certified instructor. Classes are being held twice a month. Contact me at 678-557-2919. That's 678-557-2919. Thank you, and welcome to Tricknology, safety, training, education, and legal protection. The Serious Minds Brain Tonic was created to sharpen the mind by protecting cells and increasing neurotransmitters associated with learning and memory. This is the Serious Minds Brain Tonic. The Resurrection Formula. This male reproductive tonic elixir is the resurrection you've been looking for. It is a stimulating sexual tonic with mild androgen-like effects that is nourishing to the reproductive system. You can order them at www.professorgriff.me and www.seriousmindsinstitute.com. Just call 678-557-2919. Your health is your wealth. Peace. All right, greetings, family. This is Professor Griff. Hope all is well with everyone. And, of course, this Serious Minds are in TV, as though y'all didn't already know. But y'all are here. And I told y'all tonight we had a special show, all right, lined up for y'all tonight. And, yeah, and toiling around with the identity of it, the name of it, we were just kind of saying, I don't know, I think it was a last-minute thing. I just looked back at a DJ, and he was like, is what we're going to call it. So we're simply going to talk about surviving. It's survive. All right. That doesn't mean by every and all means necessary, because I have some brothers here that's going to give us some basic fundamental instructions as a foundation to move us into the area of knowing how to survive. All right. Joining me tonight is, of course, my man Dexter Piggins. We call him Doc. All right. And I'm going to let him introduce himself as we come up. But listen, any of the information that you see on here tonight, if you like to take classes or if you want to contact these individuals, I'm going to put their names and their information inside of the chat room. So if you're on IG, come on over. All right. It's a beautiful thing that you're on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, wherever you are. So you over here, you can actually see the information that's going out to everyone. Shout out to Quan, shout out to the Serious Minds family. And the other brother that I got up on deck, my man Larry LLP. I'm gonna just call him LP. I'm gonna let him introduce himself when we come on. But we're talking about a firefighter and a paramedic. We're talking about brothers that own companies. Doc owns Still Standing LLC. LP owns he has a company in dealing with consulting Penton Pending Consulting Solutions. But I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. So listen, any of the information that you hear on here, and you want further information, we're going to do a Zoom call class / lecture / presentation on December 12th. All right, so look out for that flyer and that information. All right, shout out to the Serious Minds family. Quan, what's good with you? You on deck? You good? All right, cool. It's a very interesting show that we're going to have tonight. Call your friends, call your family members. Let them know that Serious Minds is on deck at 9 o'clock with 2 special guests tonight. And we're about to get it in. So I'm going to bring my guests up so we can kind of make this happen, fam. It's good, boy. All right, let's make sure we get some volume. Talk to me.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Larry, I heard you, but your volume is really, 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 really low.
How's that?
Hold on for a second. Hold on. Still low. Hold on. All right. Give me a mic check.
How's that? Is that better?
Nah, hold on for a second. Let me make sure it ain't me on this end. Hold on. Let me see. 1 second, family. Hold on. Nope, not there. Not there. All right, Doc, let me give me a mic check, man.
Hey, Griff, can you hear me okay?
I don't know what this is. Hold on, I'm gonna figure it out. Keep talking, Doc.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Here we go.
What's going on, Griff?
I got you. All right, I'm good. Larry, where you at?
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't see you though.
All right, hold on just a second. I'm just changing out my screen here.
All right, we good. All right.
There we go.
All right, I got both of y'all on deck. It was me. Yeah, host error. All right, these 2 gentlemen, I think we met last week. Was it?
Last week, yeah.
Last week we put it together that quick because we have some serious individuals that's looking and like-minded individuals coming together because serious minds attract serious minds. Seriously, we saw that there was a need for us to get this information out in reference to a whole host of information in reference to the medical care, as far as IFACs, as far as first aid, as far as being first responder, CPR, a host of other things. So what I'm going to do is bring these gentlemen up, have them introduce themselves, what they do, who they are, and then we'll dive into the conversation. Doc, you want to go first?
Yeah, no problem. Just want to say thanks and good evening to everyone who may be online. But anyway, my name is Dexter, nicknamed Doc, Dexter Peggins. The Doc, I'm not a doctor. That's just a carryover from the military. I spent 23 years in the Army as combat medic. So in the military, everybody is Doc, you know. So, but anyway, I have a company. It's called Still Standing LLC. Primarily teach in and around the Atlanta area. However, I do travel across the country. But primarily, I train stop the bleed, basic stop the bleed, first aids, and also have a partner of mine that also does training with CPR. And also I do what they call tactical emergency casualty care training. So basically, company is primarily focused on training folks in our community on stop the bleed procedures, the things they can do so they, to empower them to be what we call an immediate responder instead of a bystander. So that's me.
Okay, that's interesting. And LP, what's good with you, man? Talk to us. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, what you do, man.
Well, my name is Larry Penton. People call me LP for short. I am a retired paramedic and firefighter. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I worked and practiced. I relocated last year, last May, to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where my family resides now. Started a company called Penton Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. We deal with a lot of media. We deal with starting up, helping business that are startups get LLCs, different things like that, HR, payroll stuff. We're venturing into podcasting, and a lot of what we do is, like I said, we work with new startup companies, helping them get their business off the ground. And part of what we're doing also is reaching out to the communities with Stop the Bleed training, first aid. That's why we're partnering with you and Doc. I was a paramedic and firefighter for 13 years in the St. Louis area. I'm still a licensed medic. I retired last year. I was on the front line with COVID from January to May of 2020. So a lot of things dealing with COVID amongst all the other things that I've dealt with in my career. So that's just the cliff notes of my history.
Okay. Now, just to let you guys know, you have to be very mindful when you talk about the C word, all right?
Yes.
They will literally shut the channel down.
Okay.
That's how sensitive they are about their lives. All right. So, yeah. So we can't even mention the word. Come up with a cute acronym, come up with a slang term. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll just say the pandemic. I'll say that.
You can't even say that.
You can't even say that? Oh, my. Oh, okay. Well.
I'll send you a list of things that they told me violates their community standards.
Okay.
Ain't that something?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say I was on the. I'll just say I was on the front. I was a frontline warrior, and I'll just leave it at that. If they got a problem with me, they got a problem with a whole bunch of frontline workers. So we'll just go from there.
And right now, when you really look at the news, they do. A lot of frontline workers saying, listen, we're not going for this, that, and the other. You understand what I'm saying? That's real. Police officers, military, SWAT, Navy SEALs. They like, look, we're not having it. We're not having it. So anyway, we'll talk. That's another conversation.
Yep.
So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk about a situation that happened, I believe, last week in reference to a mass shooting. And I had already had the book being sent to me so I could kind of dive in to the study that I wanted to do, countering the mass shooting threat. All right. So as I'm going through the book, I'm seeing that it only touched. I thought about you, Doc. It only touched on first aid. It only touched on certain things that you should do when it talks about countering the mass. Very thorough book. Don't get me wrong. Very thorough. And the USCCA do have a first aid book that's out, but it only touched on it. I just said to myself, well, we need to kind of go in deeper. So let me share my screen. Let me see. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so let's see.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air with breaking news about a shooting at a Memphis area grocery store. It happened at a Kroger in Collierville, Tennessee. Here's what we know right now. According to police, 13 people were shot. One person has been killed. The shooter is also dead. Police say it appears to be self-inflicted. Just moments ago, authorities briefed the press with this update.
At this time, the shooter is deceased. We believe that's going to be from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have 13 victims. Our hearts go out to those that were injured. We do have one fatality, and our thoughts and prayers are with those family members.
The chief of police in Collierville. Joining us now is former ATF special agent and NBC News analyst Jim Cavanaugh. Jim, we heard the chief also say that there was a separate crime scene or a separate area of interest, the car that the suspect may have driven himself there. What could they be looking for?
They're going to have to sweep it for bombs, Lester. It's routine when you get a mass shooter like this. They're going to have to make sure there's no explosive devices or booby traps in the car. They're also going to have to do the same as at his residence. But they're saying they believe he acted alone.
All right. I want to bring in now NBC News law enforcement analyst Cedric Alexander. You've been watching along with us the press conference moments ago. Any early read, anything we should be observing or thinking about as we watch this play out?
Well, I think what's going to be interesting here, Blessed, as this continues to unfold, is certainly everybody's going to be looking for a motive. But here again, I think there's a lot of preliminary investigative techniques and tools that have to be utilized, particularly if you have the assailant himself who is deceased on the scene. But unfortunately, that's a large tragedy anytime you have anyone killed and that number of people who have been severely injured in this shooting. But it certainly is going to be important to find out what precipitated all this. What was the motivation behind this?
29-year-old Oop Tang identified as the Kroger shooter, police confirming his identity without saying his name, just holding up the written words on a legal pad to avoid giving him any notoriety.
Some of you have asked me about was he an employee? He was a third-party vendor for Kroger.
Witnesses say Tang worked in the sushi department. Police haven't given a motive in the shooting, but Kroger employee LaWanda Clark recalls overhearing managers talking about firing Tang the night before.
They had to walk the guy out yesterday morning, and it was, I think, around about 9 o'clock. His boss came in, and they were talking to him about, what happened, and they had to walk him out, and he didn't really want to walk out. They said they were going to call the police, but I guess he left at that point.
He describes Tang as quiet, only conversing with the other sushi workers and sometimes arguing with other co-workers.
I never said much to him because I think he was pretty off to himself. People had said he don't like people to speak to him.
Vivian Harris thinks she ran into Tang at another Kroger store in Whitehaven earlier in the day, talking to him as he was making a delivery to the sushi department there.
He didn't look too happy, but he didn't look like, he was angry, but he definitely perked up a little bit while I was talking about his sushi.
It was
Wow. All right, that's the basis of us. So let me pull some things from this, all right? If 13 people were shot, and hypothetically speaking, 10 were injured. So either one of y'all want to go first. What do we do at that particular point when we're talking about surviving? Let's take it from the standpoint that you two gentlemen were inside the store shopping. All right? Take it from that perspective. Give me your take. What do we do?
When we start off, Larry, or you want it?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sure me and Larry will have similar perspectives or may differ, whatever. But anyway, in a situation like that, there's active shooter event, and one of the things that a lot of folks are trained in nowadays is Department of Homeland Security's active shooter response, primarily like geared towards, we'll say, bystanders. And because there's two different types of active shooter response as far as what you want to do if you're caught up in the middle of an active shooting event. And this one is geared towards, we'll say, the non-law enforcement type person. So the everyday person, they have what they call run, hide, fight. Run, hide, fight. Basically, run, hide, fight means run if you can escape moving away from the threat. In other words, knowing where the shooter is at. You want to move away from the threat, get to a covered position, and basically, call 911, stay on the phone, keep the line open, let them know what's going on. Okay. You're not being trained to engage the shooter. You want to move away from the threat. The other component is what they call the hide. If you're not able to evacuate away from the threat, like when you read the report, that particular report, they found people that were in the store. They were hiding in offices, hiding underneath cash register aisles. They had people in freezers. They had people one guy on top of the roof. So, they was hiding all over the place. So basically, you weren't able to escape. So now you got to try to hide. While you're hiding, you need to be developing a plan, or what you would be doing is, in the event that that shooter comes in my direction, if you're armed, this is probably a case, if you're armed, you're probably going to be prepared to engage the threat, with your firearm and, with the proper training and things of that nature. I would not say engage the threat prior to. Maybe it depends, unless let me put it like this. That's going to be dependent upon the person. Because once you engage that threat, you're going to direct the attention of the shooter towards you. So if you're a trained shooter and you know you can safely engage that threat, basically your actions is going to prevent other persons from getting shot or killed. Me personally, and it's a personal decision, I'm going to take the shot myself, me. But that's a personal decision, okay? Everybody may not want to do that. But while you're in that high posture, you need to be preparing that if this person comes into this area where they've now found me hiding, you need to be prepared to fight. And that might be the fight of your life. And so that's where the fight component. So run, hide, fight. I tried to get away. I got away, got to a safe cover position, called 911, situation awareness, made sure I stayed safe in a covered position, waiting for help to arrive. I wasn't able to get away. I'm hiding somewhere in the store, in the freezer, underneath the counters, wherever. Fight, the guy done found me. I was trying to hide, couldn't get away. They found me. So what am I prepared to do to survive the event? And so I got more to say, but I'm gonna shut up for a minute and let Larry interject on that.
I'm just going to add to it because all those things are on point. I came up with this acronym, and the letters are SMARCHRAP. So SMARCHRAP. So SMARCH RAP. March is the acronym that the military came up with in dealing with situations like what we're talking about, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the first letter in S, and like I said, I'm just going to add on to what Doc just said, because that was pretty much exactly the mindset that I think of when I'm out and about. And I remember being out at the store. I was at Publix here in Charlotte when I got the breaking news about the shooting in Tennessee. The first letter S stands for situational awareness and safety. I learned back in paramedic school, the first thing that you want to do is when you get involved in any situation is check your own pulse. If you're all over the place, if you're not focused, if you're all jittery and stuff, you're not going to be able to help. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane and they say when the mask drop, put your mask on first before you put somebody else's mask on. You got to help yourself first. So take a deep breath. You want to know what the threats are. You want to, your two best things that you're going to have is your mind and your cell phone. You want to call 911. Well, let me go back a little bit. You want to breathe easy. You want to know the threats. You want to hide. You want to cover, conceal, get to somewhere that's safe. You want to call 911. And if you have an IFAC on you, grab a pair of gloves because you may need them. So that's kind of what I would start off with, just in that mindset of following what Doc said and adding a few other things to that.
Okay, so let me say this. So when does calling the 911 thing come into play? So you're looking out for yourself, right? You got you cover, you could build, all right, you got control of yourself. You're not thinking about putting on no gloves because
right.
Because you're not thinking about okay, I don't even know if anybody hit or shot. I'm just worried about me right now. I'm not, you understand what I'm saying? I'm the dude on the roof. You see what I'm saying? So on my way to the roof in the stairwell, I might say, yo, seriously, I'm at Kroger's at so-and-so, Kroger's on Howell Mill, and somebody just, I heard gunshot. I'm going to be on the roof when y'all get in. That's all I'm going to know.
So, I'm sorry, Larry. So,
go ahead. Okay.
Well, I was going to just say, like you say, your first priority is self-preservation. And then also if you're with your family, you need to be making sure you take care of your family. So that's going to be your number one priority initially at that point before you can even think about trying to help someone else. Right. So you do need to move, just like Larry mentioned, situational awareness. Before you just jump up and start running, you need to know that you're not running towards the threat. Okay. So once you have moved to a safe location that's going to provide you some kind of cover and concealment, preferably, if kids start popping off some rounds at you, when you feel you have moved to a safe location away from the threat, that's when I would say it's the time to call 911. I want to make sure me and my family or me, whoever, I'm not exposing myself on the phone, standing up, or I'm out in the open trying to dial 911 because I'm not paying attention to what's going on around me. So that's my take. What about you, Larry?
Yeah, like I said, breathe easy. Get somewhere and hide, conceal yourself, barricade doors, rooms. You can use whatever, tables, chairs, boxes, people, whatever. Get on the horn, call 911, and just keep your mind open because, it's probably more likely than not that somebody's going to be hurt or killed, dead or dying in that situation. Now
let's fast forward. Shooter down, shooter's taken out, whether self-inflicted or whatever, and you're there on the scene and people are bleeding out, people are hurt, they're shot. What happens at that point? Y'all two are inside of the store. What happens at that point?
So, so at that point, you still have an active threat, because you didn't say the law enforcement. Did you say law enforcement on the scene, Griff? Has law enforcement arrived yet?
Yeah, you kind of figure at that point, someone has already called 911. You hear the sirens. You're the
right.
Store, but shooter is down. Now you're shifting it into, okay, I need to render first aid, CPR, a tourniquet over here, somebody's bleeding out. What do you guys do at that particular point? Educate us on what we do.
So, people need to, I would say this, segmenting into that. People need to understand when a law enforcement initially arrives, even though they may have some medical personnel with them, like they use what they call rescue task force, what have you. It might be a combination of EMS and also law enforcement. But, their priority when they first arrive, even though there's people laid out on the ground, whatever, bleeding out, what have you, their priority first is to identify and neutralize the threat. Because up until that point, that threat is considered an active threat. And so as they start to clear that building or clear rooms or clear areas, those areas are considered clear, secure. That'll allow that rescue task force or the EMS, tactical EMS personnel maybe to move forward and provide care. But up until that point, if law enforcement is not on the scene and have cleared that building or cleared that location, every time you pop your head up, you taking the chance to get popped when you pop your head up. Okay. Now, if you are able, the threat is still active, meaning the shooter hasn't been identified or neutralized. If you could call out to the person, maybe they're conscious, maybe they're moving around, but the threat may still be there. You can basically say, hey, move here or move over there. Maybe there's some kind of counter or desk or something they can get behind. You say, hey, move to cover. You're trying to talk to them to get them out of the kill zone, or what we say, getting off the X. Move off that point. If they're able to provide care to themselves, you might be able to talk them through doing certain things. But as far as you providing care, Griff, or whoever may be listening in, if the threat is still active until it's no longer an active threat, yeah, you can take the chance of providing care, but you also remember taking the chance of becoming a victim yourself. Wow. Larry?
So I would say that along with that, the area that you're hiding and concealing is the area that you're not going to leave out of until you're cleared by law enforcement. Because as Doc said, you pop your head out, you could be looked at as a part of the active shooter, because they don't know if it's one shooter or a couple or a few. So it's not that they don't trust you, it's just that they don't trust you. That's why when you see active shooter situations, everybody comes out with their hands up, you know, and they'll pat everybody down, they'll corral everybody together, they'll keep everybody together until they make sure that nobody has anything on them that they deem to be a weapon or something that's used for mass destruction. The area that you're going to be contained in that's your baby if you want to be part of the solution in terms of helping the injured, dead, or dying. I would say that once you are in, like, let's say you're in a room or something like that, or you're in a storage area, that's when you want to start looking at who all is in this room with me. Do I have anybody that is doing anything that potentially can be harmful to me and the other people that are in the room? Once you kind of got an understanding of what's going on, again, know your threats. Start thinking about, okay, we call it the Start Triage. So who's all my walking wounded? Anybody that's okay, or you guys got a scratch or something like that, or you just kind of shaking up, go stand on the side. You start looking at, okay, who is down and not moving.
Right.
You start looking at who can move but has maybe a laceration or a gunshot wound or something like that. So you start kind of breaking down from least important to most important. Some people may be dead, and there's not going to be a whole lot that you can do for somebody that's dead, but we'll kind of get into that. So that's kind of where I would start as far as that's concerned.
All right, so moving forward now. So now law enforcement cleared it, right? Now, do you lend your services? Do you help out? Your country cousin is laying there bleeding out. So what do you do? Some lady that you kind of know but really don't know, you see her around every now and then, she's down. So what do we do at that point? Now that it's clear, do you follow law enforcement and evacuate, or because they have their own medics, or do you, as trained professionals in what you guys do you assist?
So my take on that would be, once they clear that area, and that area is pretty much secure, the threat is no longer within that space in and around you. And so you do have some folks that's laid out, and that you are trained, that you have training where you can provide medical care. I would say, start helping those individuals up until the point in which those law enforcement guys tell you, hey, stop, and start moving you out of the area, because they may not allow you to continue providing that medical care. Just like Larry was saying, until initially, until they identify the threat and neutralize it, everybody is a threat. You might be the shooter blended in with the crowd, pretending like you're trying to help somebody, but you're actually trying to evacuate out of the building with everybody else. So in the meantime, if you're able to provide medical care, once they have cleared up to that certain point, I would say definitely go ahead, because that few minutes that you provide that, putting pressure on that wound or doing something to control that bleeding might buy that person some time until the actual rescue task force comes in, or the EMT paramedics or whoever they got coming aboard actually comes in to take over. But if the law enforcement guys just tell you, hey, stop, get your hands up, start moving this way, turn around backwards, then you stop. The medical care stops at that point. No back and forth. You need to follow their instructions and do what they tell you to do.
Right.
You got 3 zones that you have to be aware of that EMS, fire, and PD are going to be looking at. The hot zone, which is the area where all the action is taking place, more than likely where the active shooter has shot or is still located, or just that. So we're talking about the grocery store. So that whole grocery store is the hot zone. Everything inside of that is hot. The area, the perimeter right outside of the grocery store is the warm zone, because you're more visible, more space. You have more of the law enforcement outside compared to inside. And then a little ways away or some distance away, you'll have the cold zone, which is where you'll see EMS, fire. We call it the staging or command area. This is where they'll bring all the wounded to either be further treated and or transported. That hot zone, as Doc said, there's not going to be a whole lot that law enforcement is going to want you to do until they neutralize or at least deem that area safe. While you're in your containment area, whether it's a storage room or what have you, and once you feel safe that the people or the person that you're with is not a direct threat to you, and that person is injured, then you can start rendering care. And the first thing that I would say is you want to know, are they alert? Meaning that I can just look at you and you know, you're looking at me, so I know you're okay as far as visually. We call it AVPU, so alert, visual, verbal. So let's say you're not looking at me because you're laid out on the ground or whatever. I'm looking at you, you're not looking at me. I say, hey, can you hear me? You open your eyes. That lets me know that you're responsive. Let's say I look at you, you're not looking at me, I call your name, or I say, hey, you don't respond. I do a painful stimuli. I put my nail in your fingernail bed, I pinch your skin, I do maybe a sternal rub or something like that. If you respond or moan or something, I know that you or at least have some pain sensation. Then we go to you, which is unresponsive or unconscious. And those are two, not the same thing. Unconscious is just like a fighter. One hits another one, they get knocked out, they're laying on the ground, you know, they're still breathing, they still have a pulse. Unresponsive, that person does not have a pulse and is not breathing. They're clinically dead. Now, but people use unconscious and unresponsive like they are synonymous with each other. They're two totally different things. We're not talking about apples and oranges. We're talking apples and hammers. The unresponsive person is clinically dead. That person needs one thing and one thing only, CPR. Now, if they have a bleed, you have to decide what's more important. If this person has a major bleed, or do they need CPR because they're unresponsive? They need that major bleed, which is the M after the S. You need to take care of all major lethal bleeds. And that's where we start talking about tourniquets. Wow. And the reason that I say that is because the reason that you take care of the major bleed before you do CPR is, think of what CPR is. CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. You're trying to, basically, you're mimicking the pumping action of the heart. Right. You want to perfuse all the major organs, the heart, the brain, the lungs, and all the other organs and tissues. If you have somebody that's bleeding out, they're spurting blood, bright red blood out, and that blood is not controlled because you typically have 4 to 6 liters of blood in your body, which is the equivalent of 3 2-liter soda bottles worth of blood circulating in your body. That blood, you can exsanguinate in 90 seconds. You can bleed out in a few minutes. So if you don't have any blood to go around and around, you know, we learn in medical school, air goes in and out, blood goes around and around. Anything less than that, you're doing chest compressions. So if you don't fix that major bleed, you can do CPR for an hour, 2 hours, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter because you're not circulating that blood. So you got to take care of that major bleed first, and that's where the tourniquets come in.
Right. All right, so now, just for the people that's just tuning in, this is Professor Griff. You already know this is Serious Fire Inspiring TV, and I have 2 special guests tonight, Dexter Piggins, a.k.a. Doc, and Mr. LP. That FF that y'all are seeing on the screen is not for Flavor Flav. All right, so don't get that confused. He's a firefighter. All right, he's a paramedic. All right, so we simply call him LP. Not for long play. Remember the LP, big records, no, it's just Larry. Don't get that twisted. He has a lot in his name and title, so we had to clear some of that up because some of y'all over here talking about Flavor. I'm like, yo, chill with that. Anyway, like I was saying. All right, so we're fielding questions right now. Anyone have any questions over here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and anyone over here on Instagram, on the gram? All right. So now, as we wait for the questions to come through, and we'll just field them as they come through. I have a question. Let's just say it's a situation where someone's bleeding out. Law enforcement didn't clear the room yet, but you're in the room, as LP said, you're in the room with that individual, and that individual's bleeding out there. What do you do in that situation? Do you locate, and I'm just throwing this out there because I need y'all to tell us. In that room that you're in, do you locate the first aid kit and go to work, or do you just sit still? Y'all let us know. What's up?
Well, I think in that case, especially like in the store, for example, that situation happened in Tennessee. You know, folks were kind of spread out all over the building, hiding. You know, I'm sure there was people that were injured that was probably within range of someone else who may not necessarily have been injured. So as far as like you made a comment, Griff, do you go grab the first aid kit? Well, if it's an area that you're not familiar with, they might not even have first aid kits. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, really, that's why a lot of times we talk about, you know, carrying certain pieces of equipment as far as your everyday carry type stuff. Just like you carry that firearm, you know, people in the medical community, we encourage people to carry certain other items on their person, i.e. the tourniquet, the pressure dressing, quick clot combat gauze, or chest seal. Those are things that you can kind of put in a little small Ziploc bag, throw in your pocket. You might have it in your bag. You know, women carry purses. You know, some guys, you know, people carry all kinds of stuff, but they're not so bulky that it's something that you could just throw in your pocket, even at a bare minimum tourniquet. But so with that, what you just said, though, you know, you got a choice. Okay, that's where I like to use that term. You can be a by-doer or a bystander. Yeah, the police haven't cleared to this point, but I'm hiding behind this table and I see this person laying in the middle of the floor bleeding out. They're bleeding to death. Okay, I know if I don't do anything, more than likely that person is probably going to become deceased. Okay. So one thing, you know, me, you know, I'm probably going to take the chance. You know, I might say, well, yeah, maybe the shooter is still around, but I'm going to get out here and try to help this person, you know, because I know if I don't do anything, it's a good chance that person is not going to survive, you know. So that's my take on it. You know, you take a chance because you taking that chance may save a person's life. Now, I wouldn't get mad at the person who decided not to do anything. They might say, well, shoot, you know, I'm going to stay behind this desk, you know, because I ain't trying to become a victim. So once again, that's a personal choice. You know, that depends on where your heart and mind is at, you know. So, but, you know, if you don't do anything, 9 times out of 10, that person's probably going to become deceased. So I'll leave it at that.
So you're saying that your decision would be to help that particular individual.
Right. Even if my help is verbal, if that person is conscious and they can respond, I mean, you know, they're alert, then I might talk them through what they need to do. I see that blood coming out the chest. Hey, man, or hey, whatever, you know, put your hand over that hole. Put some pressure on it. Hold that pressure on it. You know, hold it tight. You know, help is on the way. I'm trying to reassure them. I'm talking them through some things they can be doing to treat themselves, what we call self-aid. You know, for all I know, they might have a tourniquet and the person dressing on themselves. You know, they could have that stuff with them. You know, I don't know. But if I'm not willing to take a chance and crawl over there myself, at a bare minimum, if I'm trained, I can, what they call remote access or remote care. I can talk them through things that they can be doing to apply self-aid to themselves.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, Larry, talk to us. What is it looking like from your perspective where you are? You in the room with the individual, they're bleeding out. One person needs CPR over here and the other one's bleeding out over there, and you're in a storage room in the back at Kroger's. I mean, you got pork hanging up. You got collard greens over here. You got the egg rack, the dairy stuff, and you. All right, Doc, I got you. All right, that was an inside joke.
Inside joke, yeah.
But you in the back, and you are the one in that room that could possibly save someone's life. What happens at that point, Larry, LP?
I think that you have two mindsets. So you're going to have people that, and this is not any particular order, I'm just going to say, so you got the A people that are going to say, hey, I'm going to go and do everything I can do to try to save this person's life, because I want to be, it's like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if I was in that situation where if I were hurt, injured, dead, or dying, I would want somebody to help me just like I would want to help them.
Right.
On the flip side, you're going to have people that, as Doc said, you know what? Again, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just that I don't trust you. And I don't like blood. I don't like, this person is foaming at the mouth. They vomited. They smell. They're dead. Because again, no pulse, no respirations, you're clinically dead. You can't make a person more dead. That's one thing. If somebody's dead, no pulse, no respirations, you can't make them more dead.
Right.
You can try to attempt getting ROS, which is getting a return of spontaneous circulation via CPR, along with stopping the major bleed that they have. But you got to just wonder, what type of person that you're in the room with. Some people are going to act, and some people are just going to sit by or what have you. So I would just say, for me personally, I'm going to do what I can do once I feel like I'm safe enough to do it. And that would be, I see somebody bleeding out, if I got gloves on me, I'll throw them on. If I don't, I try to put my hand in a plastic bag or something like that, or just like, hey, you know what? I don't have any open wounds on my hand. I may just use a T-shirt or something like that. And, either I'll have a tourniquet on me and we'll kind of get into that, or you can do some makeshift stuff and we'll talk about that. But you want to definitely get that blood, that major bleed stopped, and check their airway. Make sure that they are breathing a clear patent airway, that they don't have anything that's blocking it or anything like that, because it doesn't make any sense to save them from bleeding and they can't breathe.
Right. All right. So hold on for a second.
And that was the A in the march.
Hold on for a second. I thought this was a question, but it's just some smart ass Negro. All right. Okay. So now, do we at this point have a basic knowledge of where first aid kits might be? Because I asked that question and I set that up, and Doc looked at me like, "Hey, you could be in a room we don't know, Kroger's back room. We don't know if there's a first aid kit back there. Where do they normally keep first aid kits? Help me out, fam."
If you notice in a lot of public places, especially like stores and stuff, most time you'll see they may be in a central location. Well, a central location in which maybe the people working in that store would be familiar with. In other words, you might say, okay, it's going to be mounted upstairs in the manager's office on the wall. Maybe it's mounted on the wall right before you get to the customer service area. So the individuals working in that space or within that facility, most of the time, that's going to be part of their safety training is, okay, we have a AED and a public stop to bleed kit. This is where it's located at. And everybody needs to be familiar with that. So when we tell you, hey, go get that stop the bleed kit, the employees will know. But the everyday person, the everyday customer, the client, or someone just moving through that area, 9 times out of 10, they probably in that store probably would not know unless they just happened to see it as they were moving through that area. a lot of times in the malls or some other types of public places, you may actually see it mounted on the wall, and they may have some kind of signage mounted on the wall identifying the location of that medical equipment. But if you're not really familiar with that location or what have you, it's a good chance you're probably not going to know unless you speak with someone that's probably an employee within that store or something.
Right. So, family, I've put both of these gentlemen's information, the email address, how to contact them, websites, if you want to donate or even purchase anything from them or take a class, whatever. I did put their Cash App and their information inside of the chat. All right. I'm sorry, Larry. Did you want to add on to that, Larry?
Yeah, just real brief. Any store like a Kroger or a Walmart or a Target, a lot of the grocery type of stores or stores like a Costco, most of that stuff is going to be in and or near the pharmacy as far as first aid kits. You will have the AEDs, the automated external defibrillators, mounted on the walls. They may only have one. They may have a few of them. Typically, they'll be either at the front of the store by the main entrance. They'll be by like where the manager's office is. They'll be by the customer service department. They may be in or near the pharmacy. They'll be sometimes back in either the employee areas, like the stock rooms, the changing rooms, bathrooms. But most of those first aid kits are going to be near or in the pharmacy area. Doc and I, being first responders, if we can't access those areas because we're contained and we're covering and concealing, we're going to turn into MacGyver and start looking at stuff that's in the room or whatever. Do I need to rip my shirt off? Do I need to, grab this piece of pork chop and put it on this frozen pork chop and put it on this person's injury, as an ice pack, improvised ice pack? I mean, again, we turn into MacGyver. So those are some of the things that we'll get into a little later on, as far as talking about improvised items that you can find or add to your IFACs.
Oh, okay. The question was asked by Dunn. How can you safely give CPR during this time that we live in right now? COVID is happening. People got all kind of diseases, all kind of whatever. How do you give CPR? I mean, do you trust that? Do you do the napkin or the handkerchief over the mouth? How does that work?
Larry, you can answer that one because you got that concept you was telling me about is pretty good. Everybody should be familiar with.
CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is what you typically see on TV, somebody pumping on the chest. There's a new concept and a new way of training people to do CPR. They call it CCR, cardiocerebral resuscitation, or the pit crew method. I call it CPR 2.0, and it's basically CPR as far as chest compressions, and we only focus on chest compressions only. We don't do mouth-to-mouth anymore. When we're doing CPR, I learned in paramedic school that we don't kiss dead folks. You can get pocket masks, this size, smaller, but we want people to focus on chest compressions because your body still has a certain percentage of oxygenated blood in it, especially if you find somebody that you have a witness arrest or witness unconscious or unresponsive person. The time to put hands on chest, the quicker you do it, the better chance that they have to survive. With CPR and CCR, which is you perfusing the heart and the brain, because it doesn't matter if you get person back, if you get ROS from doing CPR and their brain dead. If you're not doing compressions thoroughly enough and fast enough and deep enough, that person is not going to make it. So with CCR, you increase the rate from about 100 to 110 to 120 compressions a minute. You want to stop every 2 minutes, do a quick pulse check, carotid. You can do a femoral, which is in the thigh area. You can do a brachial. No more than 5 seconds. You can't feel a pulse, go back and do CPR for 2 minutes. If you have another person or other people in the room, every 2 minutes you switch out, because you're going to get tired doing CPR on a person, trust me. And in 14 years, I've never done mouth to mouth all the CPR that I've done on people. So it's all about chest compressions.
Man, I need to upgrade my CPR card then, because I was going to the old method, man. I was like,
every 2 years.
Wrestling.
You gotta, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, man. That's some serious information right there from both of you gentlemen. I was looking for a few other questions before we close out. This hour went quick, man. But anyway, so listen, family, we're going to be on every single Wednesday night. We're leading up to, because it's a lot of information. As we can see, we didn't even dive into some of the things that, but so we're going to piece it apart and give information that you could use today. Now, listen, a lot of our people, it is sad that we have to have that part of the conversation, brothers. It's sad that a lot of our people are really not in tune with having a conversation like this. Quan, I think Quan said it, Johnny Taylor, one of them, little guys said it, that these are conversations we just don't have. And this is just not one of them salacious, kind of juicy conversations you want to have on the show so you can get numbers and hits and views. No, this is information that we really, really need. So a lot of times people, they'll click on, like, I don't want to hear that. And they'll click off. But this is the information that we need, because this could happen to one of your family members while you at Kroger's or Publix or Walmart or Home Depot. Am I right or wrong?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I say listen to the information that these gentlemen is giving us, pull the information that you need, tuck it away, and make it happen. So Queen asked a question. Fatima says, "Is a tourniquet placement always above the wound?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, between the wound and the heart. So basically, depending on, we'll say if you're in what we call an active threat environment, basically, the rule of thumb is go high and tight, high up on the extremity, high and tight up on the extremity, because you don't have a whole lot of time to cut away the clothing to actually expose the injury site. So in the military, we used to call that hasty tourniquet application. But basically go high and tight up on the extremity, be it the arm or the leg. But if you have the time and you're not, maybe you're no longer in a direct threat environment where you actually have time to assess the injury site in our training. But of course, Larry, interject whatever you have. We say go 2 to 3 inches above the injury site. So if you're able to see the injury site, don't have an active threat, 2 to 3 inches above the injury site, never over the joints, never over the creases. Make sure you check those pockets for pocket pins and knives and keys, so you're not putting a tourniquet over something that's inside that pocket. But if you're in an active threat environment where you don't really have time to thoroughly assess the injury site, go high and tight on the extremity.
High and tight. Underline that. Put that in a bold font. Make it bold. Underline it. High and tight. All right. I keep a magic marker with me so I can write the time that I lock that tourniquet in, so I'll know how long to keep it on. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Put a Sharpie or 2 in your IFAC kit, in your individual first aid kit. So because there's a place on the tourniquet that you can write down the date and the time, preferably the time, because you're going to be at the hospital the same day, but definitely the time that you put the tourniquet on. That this conversation goes into the C part of the SMARTS wrap, which is about circulation. So you want to check the pulses, make sure that the tourniquet is tight enough that you don't feel a pulse anymore. If you still feel a pulse after applying the tourniquet, that tourniquet is not applied properly.
Wow.
You might as well don't even have it on.
Right.
That's why you want to have it high and tight if it's on the arm, if it's in the groin area, as up in the groin area as possible. But definitely you want to check the pulses. Make sure you don't feel another pulse once you apply that tourniquet, and then put the time on there. You also want to check for mental status, because with blood loss, you're going to have some mental status decreasing. So ask them their name. Ask them, do they know where they are? Ask them, how many fingers do I have up? Just some general questions.
All right. There's some vital information, family. And I just say to everyone tuning in that are already staying on, that are leaving some positive comments. Thank y'all very much. Really appreciate that. I want to say, and I know I'd be wrong, every conversation is not for everyone. I can't say that about this one. Everyone needs this conversation. Plain and simple. Regardless, well, I live in a gated community. I don't think, something's probably not going to happen to me. It's going to happen to the next person. No, it might happen to you. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, for sure. And Griff, I'd like to say this. We started off this discussion based on the scenario with the shooting in Tennessee, the firearms. But, when we talk about basically like stop the bleed training, CPR training, as far as the mechanism of injury, how that person got injured, it don't have to be a gunshot, okay? It can be a car accident and you had some of the dashboard coming up, breaking off and penetrating your body. Maybe you out hiking. A lot of folks like to go hiking and camping. Maybe you out there walking up the trail, don't see that tree limb that's sticking out the ground. You trip over the tree, and now you're gonna land it on top of a piece of tree branch sticking inside your chest. Right. Maybe it's your little baby running around the house. You told them to put the pencil down or the fork down, and they run around and trip and fall. Now they got a pencil sticking out the side of their body. So it's not just, we want to make sure people understand, which I know we do. This ain't just for something you need to know for gunshot wounds or shootings. That the training is applicable to any type of life-threatening bleed, as far as how it got caused. The end result is going to be the same. If you don't stop the bleeding, or if you don't get that person start back breathing, they're going to die. That's all there is to it.
And I like to say, we're living at a time right now where people are really insensitive, man. I've seen people walk by people that have passed out, and they look like that's not my issue. And it's like, wow. So you want us to treat your grandmother that way? Your mama? What if your daughter passed out on my watch while I'm in line aisle 13 at Walmart, and me and her are the only ones in aisle 13, and she just drop on the floor? Should I render aid? It's like, come on, family. We cannot be that insensitive. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit on here and say there's going to time where you're going to need some first aid. We're living in a time where you're going to need to know this. I don't know your individual lives. I don't know where you go, how you get down, how you move. But I'm saying to you, if I can take this, what you two brothers are giving me, and tuck it away and put it in my toolbox, so to speak, I'm good money. You understand what I'm saying? But
absolutely.
If I say, I'm more interested in how much time R. Kelly's going to get, or I'm more interested in, some other thing that's happening on the news. Come on, family.
A lot of times people don't understand the importance of medical training until something happens. And like, you kind of gave an example earlier. It's like that conversation people don't like to have. And when we talk about, like, for example, in our community, folks don't like to talk about getting life insurance. You know what I'm saying? That's not because people don't like to talk about death. We want folks to live forever. So when it's time to sit down with your family members, say, well, let's talk about life insurance in the event something happens, so we can make sure we bury you or we send you home in the way you need to be sent home. Well, a lot of folks don't want to have that kind of conversation because they want to think that you're going to be here forever. So we don't need to talk about life insurance. When we talk about medical training, folks think they ain't going to never get hurt, But then when they do get hurt or someone does get hurt, a lot of times they don't know what to do. Okay, because it's like, don't go to a gunfight and don't expect to get shot. Okay, what happens once that bullet leaves that weapon or what have you, or once, somebody cracks you upside the head with a stick? and now you got a deep gashing wound, on the back of your head. You need to know how to provide care, because the life you save, it could be your own, or it could be that stranger on the street. Okay. It's just too important to overlook it or to try to dismiss it as something that ain't gonna never happen to you.
Right. All right, so
Yeah.
no, go on, LP.
I think, when we talk about insurance, especially in Black communities or impoverished communities, I think that life insurance has been replaced by the GoFundMe.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's great that GoFundMe was started and created. I just think that people have become too dependent on that and not having just a general life insurance policy. Because with a GoFundMe page, it's no guarantee that you're going to raise all the money, whether it's 1,000, 5,000, 20,000, 50,000. It's no guarantee that you're going to raise the money to be able to bury your loved one. When AJ Johnson, the comedian from Friday, Ezell, died, his wife was very critical of a lot of fans and other celebrities that she was calling fake, and saying because he didn't have an insurance policy that she didn't know how she was going to bury him. They started a GoFundMe page for him, and the goal was $50,000.
Wow.
And you saw having all these people donating money, including celebrities. I think it's up to 75,000 and counting now, and the goal was only 50. But again, you're talking about a person who was a celebrity when he died, been in a number of movies. I mean, even though he was never the lead actor, he was still a celebrity. He was still a star, and he was not able to have, or he didn't, for whatever reason, have a life insurance policy. And then talking about death, there's the 5 stages of grief. You got denial, you got anger, you got bargaining, you got depression, and then you got acceptance. And I think just in society alone, nobody wants to talk about the D word, death. They don't want to, when doctors come and tell you that, your loved one has died, people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, oh, they passed on or something like that. No, you need to tell them that they died. You need to tell them why do you think they died, or at least what's going to be done to investigate why they died. But everybody has to deal with those 5 stages of grief, because I always say that mental health is the world's oldest continuous pandemic. And we have to understand that mental health plays such a role in every aspect of our lives, whether it's going to a mall and there's a shooting situation, the situation that happened in Parkland, Florida, or Columbine, the situation that happened out in Vegas with the shooting, the situation that happened out in California at the movie theater with the shooting. A shooting can happen anywhere, workplace. So it's not if it's going to happen, but when is it going to happen? And what are you going to do?
Right. So we ran out of time. So I'd like to give the people your information on how to contact you. And I understand, Doc, that you sell IFACs.
Yes, sir. Yes, I
So
do.
give the people the information.
Okay, so yeah, I sell medical kits, IFAC, for those of you, individual first aid kit. Basically, the kits I sell are geared towards treating what we call trauma injuries, life-threatening bleedings. It's got tourniquets, chest seals. Yeah, Larry, same type, chest seals, pressure dressings, those quick clot combat gauze, those things that are geared towards treating a life-threatening bleed. So I sell those, and for the shooters out there, a lot of folks like the tactical gear. In addition to that, I have what we call rip-away med pouches. Same thing, it's kind of like a little small IFAC, smaller than this. But you can attach it to your chest rigs, battle belts. Yeah, exactly. Like Larry has in his hand, similar to that. So anyway, you can follow me on Instagram at steel.standing. If you're interested in purchasing any IFAC or Ripaway med pouches, you can go to my website, which is www.steelstandingllc.com, and go to the heading for store. And that's where you can find those items at.
Okay.
And I would say for folks that have health insurance, especially if you invest in the HSA or more specifically the FSA portion, you can use those funds to buy these IFACs. If you go to www.fsastore.com, they sell all kind of first aid kits. I got a ton of different first aid kits because, you know, those funds, if you don't use them a certain amount of it by the end of the year, they just disappear, you know. So you can go to the FSA store on the internet and they accept all FSA cards, no matter what insurance you have. They have kits that are from $20 all the way up to a few hundred. And so what we'll talk about in future live streams is more detail about first aid kits and what you can put in them, what you should buy, what you shouldn't buy. And we'll give you like a top 10 to 15 list of things that you absolutely should have in any IFAC kit, no matter what.
Okay.
You can reach me at www.PentonPending, P as in Paul, E-N-T as in Tom, O-N, P as in Peter, E-N-D as in David, I-N-G.com. Or my my Instagram, LP FireMedic. Or as Griff said, IP. Only Griff can call it IP.
All right, cool. All right, so until next week, gentlemen, we're going to kick around the next subject that we're going to deal with. And I think it's very interesting that we do deal with current events, and we tie this information so people can see it in real time. All right, survival in real time. Nice, survival in real time. All right. All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you, gentlemen. All right.
All right, Griff. Larry, Griff, peace.
Peace. All right. All right. That was Doc and LP. One from the military and one is a civilian, but they have that experience. And they're passing that experience on to us. And I hope that that we have pulled some information from what they've given us tonight. Every Wednesday night, we're going to talk about survival every Wednesday night, all right, in real time. All right, in real time. All right, give thanks, fam. Thanks everyone for coming on. Really appreciate that. Shout out to everyone on IG over here. I didn't get a chance to kind of like interact with you guys tonight, but thanks for coming on. Really appreciate that. Quan, thanks for doing a marvelous job. Really appreciate you. All right, shout out to the Serious Minds family, and definitely shout out to the cyber thugs that were on, the internet keyboard killers, the internet gangsters, the agents and the trolls. Thank y'all very much. Really appreciate that. Anyway, inshallah, I will see you guys tomorrow. And let's talk. Serious minds attract serious minds. Seriously. All right. Revolution is not an event. It's a process, family. Peace. Peace. Peace.